So I assume the Earth was just always twice as big. Same pretty much relative geography, but just bigger. So I decided, we do a lot of talk about science on this show, obviously. I decided to talk about history a little bit today, because we don't ever do that, like, literally.
Oh, well, that's because I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, I don't know anything about history.
I know very little, but Wikipedia knows a lot, so I'm able to transfer that knowledge.
I remember when George Washington split the Mediterranean Sea to help the Egyptians invade Europe. That was a pretty good day.
I remember when me and Marcus had a 30-minute arm wrestle. That's history.
That is also history.
Put it in the books, guys.
We are going to start with something that you guys, I'm pretty sure, do know from history because you were at one point in a computer lab in the 2nd grade, and that is the Oregon Trail. So, the Oregon Trail, in real life, it was this trek from basically, like the East Coast of the United States to the West Coast of the United States back in the, 1800s, 1700s. I somehow didn't write that down. Jesus. I think 1800s. Let's go with that.
History. Your intro to history.
History. Not our strong suit.
History with Ben Storms. I don't fucking know. 17-something, 18-something. Use your imagination.
Not gonna lie, guys. There's a reason we don't talk about history that much on this show. So, 1800s. It was actually about 2,170 miles. So, in double world, that's 4,300 miles long, which is basically the same distance as going from Boston to Ukraine. So that's pretty far.
Yeah. But now Ukraine's also twice as far, so your analogy doesn't work.
It just keeps on growing.
I'm giving a frame of reference, Marcus. Come on. Work with me here.
I don't know where the fuck Ukraine is.
Okay, I also spent a really long time finding the distances between, New York or Boston and more reasonable places. Could not find any that lined up because it's actually a very far distance. Anyway, one of the main problems you hit really is that, as you might remember from the game Oregon Trail, when you chose to leave to go towards Oregon was actually a very big decision, because if you left too early, you'd get stuck in the mud as things were thawing out, and if you left too late, you would be going there in the winter and you would die because it was winter. But unfortunately now, assuming it takes about twice as long to go, it took 6 or 7 months, so now it takes more than a year. So that's not really a problem anymore, it just means that you're definitely going to die in the cold.
What if you just have twice as many horses and go twice as fast? Or oxen?
I don't think that's how oxen work. I don't think they're additive.
Well, if you have a car with 1 horsepower, it goes half as fast as a car with 2 horsepower. So if you have 2 literal horsepower, it's got to go twice as fast.
I'm going to need a citation on that one.
Citation needed.
Citation needed. The other problem that you're going to hit is that there are obviously some mountains between, the sides of this country. So the ones that I know were already a pretty big issue on the Oregon Trail were the Blue Mountains in Oregon, sort of near the end. And this was kind of the last thing that they had to sort of get through. The average elevation is 6,500 feet, and the peak was a little over 9,000. But now the average elevation, because we decided that if the Earth was twice as big, we were going to just go ahead and do it uniformly. So mountains are twice as tall, things like that. So now the average elevation is 13,000 feet, and the peak is 18,210 feet, which in the US today, that would easily be the highest elevation in the continental US. So right now, the actual highest peak in real world is Mount Whitney in California, which is about 14,500 feet. Doubled that would actually be just 19 feet shorter than actual Mount Everest, which, 1, that's insane, and 2, holy shit, Everest is really big.
Well, Ben, now Mount Everest is twice as big, so your analogy doesn't work.
You're going to say that for all of his comparisons?
Yeah, Everest is actually about 11 miles tall now, by the way, which is actually out into the second layer of the atmosphere. So Everest is really tall. So I guess sort of, in general, sort of the thing you should take away from this is that crossing the country, just on foot, is basically going to be impossible. Which sort of takes me to my next thing I sort of looked into, which was crossing the ocean once the planet is twice as big. Specifically with regards to actually, colonizing the Americas. So, one small caveat on basically all of this information, it's actually really hard to get, good numbers on how long it should take to cross in, an 18th century ship the Atlantic Ocean, because apparently it took everywhere from, the high 20s number of days to get to, the Caribbean up to, it was like 144 for like the Jamestown settlers. I don't know what the like why the range was so high.
What, they just have like a fucking raft with like one oar between the 5 of them?
I guess, I don't know, man. I don't know. But yeah, it was weirdly, I have to be a little imprecise on these, but sort of as a base, because it was kind of a nice, like, you know, middle number of the things I was seeing, we're going to use the Mayflower. So that went 2,750 miles in 66 days. So doubling that, basically what it worked out to is that I don't think you're going to be able to colonize the New World until you have, like, steamships, at least. I think you're going to be able to find it, because you can get there in, like, 3 months. I think eventually someone's going to look into it, because it was also twice as big, so you'd think it'd be easier to hit. But it's going to be basically impossible to actually, like, get settlers there, because you're going to have nowhere to resupply in this giant, like, 5,000-mile boat crossing. So at that point, you basically, if we assume it's going to take until you get steamships, that's going to be, like the 19th century. And even then, it's going to be a while until you're actually colonizing. And all this time, the civilizations that Europeans came over and just, like, wiped out were still there. So you basically just going to have, like, 2 separate worlds that are going to meet somewhere in, like, the mid-1800s. And this is where I really don't have any numbers on this part, because this is, like, even for us, entirely hypothetical. But I have no idea how that works out.
Yeah, I kind of now have an image of just a bunch of Indians with iPad. Like, we get over here, like, a bunch of Indians just, like, tweeting about it on their iPads. Be like, whoa, what are all these people coming out from the water? What the hell?
well, like, the other thing, too, is, like, it's entirely possible that, like, the first way that we actually colonize North America is, like, we go to, like, Alaska first, because it is at least, like, not batshit insane far away from, like, landmass in Eurasia. And then, like, trickle down from there. And that obviously changes things a lot. But then, like, also, like, I don't know how you get across, like, the Rocky Mountains.
You just don't. There's just no oxygen anymore.
Right. So colonization doesn't happen at all the same way.
Also, Benny, you gotta consider this, too. If the Earth is twice as big and gravity is twice as strong, we're probably gonna be smaller. Like, we're gonna probably be, like, 4 feet tall, maybe 4.5 feet tall.
But we'll be stronger.
We will be stronger.
We'll be stronger, but it doesn't fucking help us because we're using all that strength to not get crushed under our own weight.
That's a very good point. I also did not think about, like, the effect of increased gravity on... I guess, actually, I will just go ahead and say, I feel like in the back of my mind, I sort of assumed that the Earth was, like, half as dense, or however it worked out, that the mass was still the same, so I didn't have to worry about... Yeah, let's throw that caveat in here, you know, at the end of everything I said.
Yeah, because otherwise just, like... boats and like, oh shit, nothing floats.
Right, yeah, because boats not the best, not, you know, boats aren't gonna work. I don't think that planes are gonna work very well once we get around to those.
Wait, do boats work? Is it a density based? Density and gravity? Boats would still work.
Would boats work?
I mean, boats would be heavier, but water...
Boats would be heavier.
Water would still have the same buoyancy, I think.
Yeah. No, boats would definitely not work as well.
Yeah, they would not be as good.
Birds would probably be, like, giant, right?
Birds would be huge. Birds would be jacked.
No, birds would be smaller.
Actually, no, yeah, you're right.
It's harder to make big birds than small birds.
They're going to be small birds with big wings. It's going to look really
That's
weird.
why there's only one big bird on Sesame Street and, like, a whole bunch of little birds.
Right.
Like, man, that was a pain in the ass making that one big bird.
So in summary, humanity is very different? I don't know. This one, yeah, things change a lot.
I now really kind of want to just make an entirely new podcast series that follows this fake history of the small little Hobbit Indians and their encounter with the steamship.
Right, yeah.
But they're not so unprepared. Like, they got like guns and stuff, just like not quite steam engine level guns.
Calling them Hobbit Indians isn't going to offend anyone.
I don't think it would.
Well, mostly hobbits, and I don't think they listen to us very much.
Hobbit Native Americans, I guess. Little hairy foot people.